right, guys, welcome back to the NBA Exchange. I am your host, Dexter Henry, and joining me now, a good friend of mine in the media, worked for a lot of years, been around with basketball, covering the Knicks and a bunch of different stuff. My man, Stefan Bondy. Steph, what's up, man? How you doing?
Good, Dexter. How's everything going?
I'm good, man. I can't complain. Really good to see you. Really good to talk to you. I'm glad you are well and you are fine. We're going to talk about the Knicks. And last night, Barclays Center, interesting game. 112 to 110. Nets get the victory. Knicks show a lot of effort. They played well in Atlanta on Saturday night. What do you think about? We're going to get into the starting lineup changes with Kemba Walker, but what do you think about what you saw from the Knicks last night? Is there any moral victory to be taken out of this 112 to 110 loss to the Nets?
I don't believe in moral victory, so no. But I do think they played well, and we're going to get into the starting lineup later. I thought that worked well. And I expected it to work well, and it did. Obviously, the big storyline coming out of that game was the officiating and the Knicks' complaints about it. And they did take about half as many free throws as the Nets, and Julius Randle was real upset after the game. He felt as if he didn't get the respect he deserved from the officiating, and he said he approached them about it, and the officials said, "Hey, you're just stronger than the defenders, and their contact isn't affecting you, and that's why we're not making those calls." Now, if that was really said to Julius Randle, that's a problem. That shouldn't be the case. They shouldn't be officiating based on how big somebody is. I mean, a foul is a foul. So if that was really said to Julius Randle, I could understand why he was so upset.
Yeah, I can too. And I mean, I thought there were some questionable calls, and the free throw disparity between them was really interesting there. And if the official said that, yeah, absolutely, there is a problem. However, one of the big storylines surrounding last night, Stefan, was obviously Alec Burks in the starting lineup. On Monday, Tom Thibodeau announced that he was going to replace Kemba Walker in the starting lineup and go with Alec Burks. Were you as shocked by that move as some people were, or should it have been expected considering how bad the numbers looked with Kemba Walker in the starting lineup on both the offensive and defensive end?
I was still shocked that he did it when he did it. I thought that, not only does Tom Thibodeau have a history of being reluctant to make a move like that. I mean, you could go back to last season when Elfrid Payton was really struggling. He started him until Elfrid Payton just had no confidence left. He had been reluctant to make such moves when he was in Chicago as well. So the history suggested that he wouldn't make a move this early, but he did. And the other shocking part of it is this is Kemba Walker, right? I mean, he had this big press conference when he came in. It was the big homecoming. They basically touted him as the savior at point guard. And for him to be removed from the starting lineup 20 games into the season, it was a little bit of a shock. And not only the starting lineup, but he's out of the rotation. So, yeah, I was surprised. At the same time, when you look at the stats, it makes a lot of sense.
Do you think that the insertion of Burks, and we saw him play well last night, 25 points, 5 assists, do you think that helps the Knicks? Do you think this is a good move for them going forward? He's not a natural point guard, but he has some playmaking ability. Do you think it's good for the team going forward?
Yeah, I like the move. I think he's an upgrade over Kemba simply because Kemba at this point, it's sad to say because, I like Kemba. I think he's a really good guy, and he's, the homegrown storyline was really awesome when it happened. But, I mean, he's just not the same player. And he doesn't have the explosiveness because of the knee, and he can't defend. And with Tom Thibodeau, it's the defense is non-negotiable. So if you're going to be a negative defensively on the floor, you're not going to play. I am concerned about the Knicks do not have a natural point guard other than really Derrick Rose, and Derrick Rose is still going to come off the bench and play 25 minutes per game. So they really don't have a point guard. And they're using Julius Randle a lot to set up the offense and to bring up the ball. And I understand, that might work in the short term, but in the long term, the Knicks not having a steady point guard, this has been a problem for decades now with this franchise, and they haven't solved that problem. And I think when you go back and you look at the Knicks having $50 million in cap space in the offseason and not being able to solve that problem, not being able to really upgrade the roster like they should, That's on the front office. I know they took the gamble on Kemba Walker. It didn't work out. That's on the front office. So I still think they have to search for that point guard because Alec Burks is a nice piece, but like you said, he's not a point guard, and they still
Right.
need to solve that problem.
Right. He's not there. And then there was some talk and some rumors, Stefan, as I'm sure you saw and heard on Nick's Twitter, that, maybe they could trade Kemba Walker, John Wall possibilities. Yeah, I see you shaking your head about that. I guess there's two questions for me there. One, the Wall thing, I think you're shaking your head on that. That's a no. They should not do that. But do you think, is there a market for Kemba Walker right now, as much as we like him, or is his career done as we know it?
Yeah, it's done as we know it, or we knew it. There might be a market out there for a player that's going to play limited minute. I don't know what role. I'd like to talk to Kemba Walker, and he might talk today at practice. Where I'm heading down to practice after we do this show. I'd like to talk to him to see where his head's at and what kind of role he's willing to accept moving forward. Whether he still views himself as a starter in this league, or whether he accepts his position as, hey, I'm a guy who can come in and be a 10-minute spark off the bench and give you guys a scoring punch. So I think he can be that in the NBA. I think his days of being a starter playing 30 minutes per game are over, and I don't think there's much of a trade market for him. Well, you brought up the John Wall thing. There's a lot of reasons why that doesn't make any sense, and the biggest one is it's not feasible. I mean, he's making over $40 million.
42.5 million. Yep.
Yeah, so you have to match salaries first of all. And Kemba's only making $9 million a year. So how are you going to make up the difference and try to trade for John Wall? You're not going to trade for John Wall and give up pieces like Julius Randle and pieces that are helping you now. It just doesn't make any sense at all. And there's no way it's going to happen.
I agree. It makes no sense at all. No way it's going to happen. You just brought up Randle. He's got a lot of the brunt from Knicks fans this season about their start 11-10 right now. He obviously hasn't played to the level that he did last year. But something we saw last night was that he's attacking the rim and he was able to make some plays. Do you think with Burks in the starting lineup that this is feasible? We will see more of this Julius Randle. Maybe not what we saw last year, Stefan, but a little bit more attacking the rim and sort of that playmaker mode.
Yeah, I think so. And I'd like to see more of that. Now, I was always concerned after last season that it was such an anomaly. How great he played, because that is not who he was throughout his career. And a lot of it had to do with him nailing the three-point shot at a clip that he had never done so before in his career last season. And you worried that it was going to regress back to what he's been throughout his career, and it has. That's what the three-pointer I'm talking about. And without that, he's a different kind of player, and he does need to be aggressive and attack the rim. And we saw that last night. Now you hope that he's getting the foul calls that he's saying he's getting hit. We weren't close enough to actually see what the contact was like, but he's saying he's getting hit and he's not getting the calls. If he's going to be aggressive, it's going to be key for him to get to the line. But yeah, I mean, this is who Julius Randle is. It's who he was throughout his career, and I could see him moving forward saying, "Hey, I'm going to pass up on these 3-pointers because they're not falling, and I'm going to attack the rim." And we saw that last night. I mean, they left him open from beyond the arc, and he just wasn't taking him anymore. He's going to attack the rim, and I think that's a good move for him.
Yeah, I thought it was a good move. Seemed like good things are happening when he does that. When you look at the Knicks right now, Stefan, 11-10, their upcoming schedule through this month of December, they've got a bunch of road games. A lot of winnable games I see there too for them. Do you think this is a period of time where they can eat a little bit here? They can do some things, maybe make some moves up the standings. What do you see when you look at the upcoming schedule for the Knicks?
So what are you talking about? Like how many games are you looking forward to?
So to looking forward ahead, I was looking in the next like 8 to 10 games, that kind of range. I was looking at that ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I got to pull the schedule up in front of me. I don't have it. But I thought they had a tough schedule coming up. I thought, there's a stretch here that ends with Golden State coming to the Garden, where it's like, hey, they're playing some good teams. They got Chicago,
Denver coming up at home
tomorrow,
soon. Right?
And Denver. Jokic is coming to the Garden, so the East is tougher than it used to be, And I feel like there aren't many gimme games. And when you look at the Knicks, like they lost twice to the Orlando Magic,
Right.
and that was at home. So I don't think if you're the Knicks and you look at the schedule at all and say, hey, these are games we're going to win. I mean, that's not where they are as an organization right now. So they have to look at every game like, hey, we're going to have to fight to win each and every one of these. They struggled to beat Houston at home as well, and we know where they're at.
Yeah, that is true. They haven't looked good in some of that. So when we look at the current state of this team, Stefan, where they are, 11-10, you're in this part. We just got past the quarter mark of the season. Where do you think this team can go? Is there still a lot of uncertainty? Is there reason for optimism with this team that they can securely be in the playoff positioning in the Eastern Conference? Or do you have a lot of concerns based on the 5-1 start, the recent play where they've been below 500? Where are you about the current state of the Knicks?
Yeah, I'm concerned, and part of it has nothing to do with them. It's just that the East is better, and you look at the top teams, and you say, where do the Knicks fit into this category? And I think they fit at this point in terms of talent. They fit into the play-in scenario, and part of it is just Julius Randle was such. I mean, he was second team All NBA last season. He was a bona fide star, and he hasn't been that. And that makes a big difference between being the fourth seed, which they were last season, and being in the play-in tournament. And RJ Barrett hasn't made that giant leap that you were seeing at the very beginning of the season. He's kind of fallen back a little bit here. So that's going to be a key to what this team does this whole season is how he progresses. But at this point, with the way they're playing and the uncertainty of Julius Randle and the uncertainty of RJ Barrett, and you don't know what you have from Evan Fournier on any given night, I'm concerned. I don't see them duplicating what they did last season right now.
If you don't, as not seeing that, last thing from me, Stefan, before I get you out of here, do you think that they will make a move? Do you think this is a front office that might say, hey, might want to make a move to try to upgrade this roster? And is there even a move out there for them to make?
Yeah, well, that's a good point. The second point is important because, maybe Dame Lillard becomes available and maybe the Knicks get involved in that bidding war. But first of all, there's no guarantee that he'll be available, and there's no guarantee they'll win that bidding war. Maybe Karl Anthony Towns becomes available. Maybe he doesn't. Right now, if you're looking at the landscape of the NBA, there's not that huge free agent coming in the summer that's feasible to get. I mean, Zach LaVine's going to be a free agent. James Harden's going to be a free agent. But, I don't see them leaving their respective teams. And you look at the trade market right now as it's currently situated, there's not that star player available. So, things change in the NBA. It's a few months before the trade deadline and anything can happen. But if you look at the landscape right now, and people thought Bradley Beal was going to be available, but Washington is playing really well. So why would he leave there? You just don't see that difference maker being available right now in the trade market.
Yeah, I don't see it either. We'll keep our eye on the current state of the Knicks. I know you will. Stefan, thank you for joining me on the NBA Exchange. I'll definitely talk to you again later in the season. Hopefully things get better for the Knicks. You get to watch some better basketball, some above 500 basketball.
Yeah, and I'm glad you said that because the bar has been so low. I'm happy that I'm covering an above 500 team
right.
at
Sure.
this point because there's been years where they weren't. So the bar is higher and the expectations are higher, and that's a good thing.
It's a good thing for all of us, especially someone like you who definitely covers the team. Steph, thank you, man. Appreciate you. We'll definitely have you back on soon, okay?
All right, cool. Thank you for
having
me.
Brother. Take care. That's Stefan Bondy of the Daily News, New York Daily News. That is, he covers the New York Knicks. Please give him a follow. Follow all great things with him covering the Knicks.